Book 4, Canto 4, The Legend of Campbell and Tellamond. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser. Book 4, The Legend of Campbell and Tellamond. Canto 4. Sathirain makes a tournament for love of Florimel. Britomart wins the prize from all, an article doth quell. It often falls, that here erst befell, that mortal foes do turn to faithful friends, and friends professed are changed to foemen fell. The cause of both their minds depends, and th' end of both likewise of both their ends. For enmity, that of no ill proceeds, but of occasion which the occasion ends. And friendship which a faint affection breeds, without regard of good, dies like ill-grounded seeds. That well, meseems, appears by that of late 'twixt Campbell and Sir Triamond befell, as all's by this, that now a new debate stirred up 'twixt Scudamore and Paridel, the which by course befalls me here to tell, who, having those two other knights espied marching afore, as ye remember well, sent forth their squire to have them both descried, and eke those masked ladies riding them beside. Who, back returning, told, as he had seen, that they were doughty knights of dreaded name, and those two ladies their two loves unseen, and therefore wished them without blot or blame to let them pass at will, for dread of shame. But Blandemore, full of vainglorious sprite, and rather stirred by his discordful dame, upon them gladly would have proved his might, but that he yet was sore of his late luckless fight. Yet nigh approaching, he them foul bespake, disgracing them, hisself thereby to grace, as was his wont, so winningly to make to ladies love, whereso he came in place, and with lewd terms their lovers to deface, whose sharp provokement them incensed so sore, that both were bent to venge his usage base, and gan their shields address themselves afore. For evil deeds may better than bad words be bore. But fair Cambina, with persuasions mild, did mitigate the fierceness of their mode, that for the present they were reconciled, and gan to treat of deeds of arms abroad, and strange adventures all the way they rode, amongst the which they told, as then befell, of that great tourney which was blazed broad, for that rich girdle of fair Florimel, the prize of her, which did in beauty most excel. To which folk mote, they all with one consent, sith each of them his lady had him by, whose beauty each of them thought excellent, agreed to travel and their fortunes try. So as they passed forth, they did espy one in bright arms, with ready spear in rest, that toward them his course seemed to apply, 'gainst whom Sir Paridel himself addressed, him weening, ere he nigh approached, to have repressed. Which the other seeing, gan his course relent, and vaunted spear eftsoons to disadvance, and if he nought but peace and pleasure meant, now fallen in their fellowship by chance, whereat they showed courteous countenance, so, as he rode with them accompanied, his roving eye did on the lady glance, which Blandemore had riding by his side, who sure he weened that he somewhere tofore had eyed. It was to weet that snowy Florimel, which furore late from Braggio won, whom he now seeing, her remembered well, how having reft her from the witch's son, he soon her lost, wherefore he now begun to challenge her anew, as his own prize, whom formerly he had in battle won, and proffer made by force her to reprise, which scornful offer Blandemore gan soon despise. And said, Sir Knight, sith ye this lady's claim, whom he that hath were loath to lose so light, for so to lose a lady were great shame, ye shall her win as I have done in fight, and lo, she shall be placed here in sight, together with this hag beside her set, that whoso wins her may her have by right, but he shall have the hag, that is ye bet, and with her always ride till he another get. This offer pleased all the company, so Florimel with 80 forth was brought, at which they all gan laugh full merrily. But Braggadocio said, he never thought for such a hag, that seemed worse than naught, his person to imperil so in fight. But if to match that lady they had sought another like, that were like fair and bright, his life he then would spend to justify his right. At which his vain excuse they all gan smile, as scorning his unmanly cowardice, and Florimel him foully gan revile, that for her sake refused to enterprise the battle offered in so knightly wise, and Ate eke provoked him privily, with love of her and shame of such misprise. But nought he cared for friend nor enemy, for in base mind nor friendship dwells nor enmity. But Campbell thus did shut up all in jest. Brave knights and ladies, search ye do wrong, to stir up strife when most us needeth rest, that we may us reserve both fresh and strong, against the tournament which is not long, when whoso list to fight may fight his fill. Till then your challenges ye may prolong, and then it shall be tried, if ye will, whether shall have the hag or hold the lady still. They all agreed, so turning all to game and pleasant board, they passed forth on their way, and all that while so they rode or came, that masked mock night was their sport and play, till that at length upon the appointed day unto the place of tournament they came, where they before them found in fresh array many a brave knight and many a dainty dame, assembled for to get the honour of that game. Then this fair crew arriving did divide themselves asunder, Blandemore with those of his on the one, the rest on t'other side. But boastful Braggadocio rather chose for glory vain their fellowship to lose, that men on him the more might gaze alone, the rest themselves in truth did else dispose, like as it seemed best to every one. The knights in couples marched, with ladies linked atone. Then first of all came forth for Satyrane, bearing that precious relic in an ark of gold, that bad eyes might it not profane, which drawing softly forth out of the dark, he open showed, that all men it might mark. A gorgeous girdle, curiously embossed with pearl and precious stone, worth many a mark, yet did the workmanship fair pass the cost. It was the same which lately Florimel had lost. That same aloft he hong in open view, to be the prize of beauty and of might, the which eftsoons discovered to it drew the eyes of all, allured with close delight, and hearts quite robbed with so glorious sight, that all men threw out vows and wishes vain. Thrice happy lady and thrice happy knight them seemed, that could so goodly riches gain, so worthy of the peril, worthy of the pain. Then took the bold Sir Satyrane in hand an huge great spear, such as he wont to wield, and vancing forth from all the other band of knights, addressed his maidenheaded shield, showing himself all ready for the field. Gainst whom there singled from the other side a Paynim knight, that well in arms was skilled, and had in many a battle often tried, hight Brunchevel the bold, who fiercely forth did ride. So furiously they both together met, that neither could the other force sustain, As two fierce bulls, that strive the rule to get of all the herd, met with so hideous main, that both rebutted tumble on the plain. So these two champions to the ground were felled, where in amaze they both did long remain, and in their hands their idle truncheons held, which neither able were to wag, or once to wield. Which when the noble Pharamond espied, he pricketh forth in aid of Satyrane, and him against Sir Blandamore did ride with all the strength and stiffness that he can. But the more strong and stiffly that he ran, so much more sorely to the ground he fell, that on a heap were tumbled horse and man, unto whose rescue forth rode Paridel, but him likewise with that same spear he eke did quell. Which Braggadocio seeing had no will to hasten greatly to his party's aid, albe his turn were next, but stood there still, as one that seemed doubtful or dismayed. But Triamond, half wroth to see him stayed, sternly stepped forth, and wrought away his spear, with which so sore he Pharamond assayed, that horse or man to ground he quite did bear, that neither could in haste themselves again unprayer. Which to avenge Sir Duin him did dight, but with no better fortune than the rest. For him likewise he quickly down did smite, and after him Sir Douglas him addressed, and after him Sir Palamode forth pressed. But none of them against his strokes could stand, but all the more his praise increased. For either were they left upon the land, or went away sore wounded of his hapless hand. And now by this Sir Satyrane abrayed out of the swoon, in which too long he lay, and looking round about like one dismayed, when as he saw the merciless affray which doughty Triamond had wrought that day unto the noble knights of Maidenhead, his mighty heart did almost rend in tway, for very gall, that rather wholly dead himself he wished to have been, than in so bad a stead. Eftsoons he gan to gather up around his weapons, which lay scattered all abroad, and as it fell his steed he ready found, on whom remounting, fiercely forth he rode, like spark of fire that from an andule glowed. There where he saw the valiant Triamond chasing and laying on them heavy load, that none his force were able to withstand, so dreadful were his strokes, so deadly was his hand. With that at him his beam-like spear he aimed, and thereto all his power and might applied, the wicked steel for mischief first ordained, and having now misfortune got for guide, stayed not, till it arrived in his side, and therein made a very grisly wound, that streams of blood his armour all betide. Much was he daunted with that dreadful stound, that scarce he him upheld from falling in a sound. Yet, as he might himself, he soft withdrew out of the field, that none perceived it plain. Then gan the part of challengers anew to range the field, and victor-like to reign, that none against them battle durst maintain. By that the gloomy evening on them fell, that forced them from the fighting to refrain, and trumpet sound to cease them did compel. So Satyrane that day was judged to bear the bell. The morrow next the tourney grew anew, and with the first the hardy Satyrane appeared in place with all his noble crew. On t'other side full many a warlike swain assembled were, that glorious prize to gain. But mongst them all was not Sir Triamond, unable he new battle to darraign, through grievance of his late received wound, that doubly him did grieve, when so himself he found. Which Campbell seeing, though he could not salve the done undo, yet for to salve his name, and purchase honour in his friend's behalf, this goodly counterfance he did frame. The shield and arms well known to be the same which Triamond had worn, unawares to wight, and to his friend unwist for doubt of blame, if he misdid, he on himself did dight. that none could him discern, and so went forth to fight. There Satyrane, lord of the field, he found, triumphing in great joy and jollity, 'gainst whom none able was to stand on ground. That much he gan his glory to enjoy, and cast to avenge his friends' indignity. A mighty spear eftsoon at him he bent, who, seeing him come on so furiously, met him midway with equal hardiment, that forcibly to the ground they both together went. They up again themselves can lightly rear, and to their tried swords themselves betake, with which they wrought such wondrous marvels there, that all the rest it did amazed make. No any dared their peril to partake, now cuffling close, now chasing to and fro, now hurtling round advantage for to take, as two wild boars together grappling go, chafing and foaming choler each against his foe. So, as they coursed and tourneyed here and there, it chanced Sir Satyrane his steed at last, whether for foundering, or through sudden fear to stumble, that his rider nigh he cast, which vantage Campbell did pursue so fast, that ere himself he had recovered well, so sore he soused him on the compassed crest, that forced him to leave his lofty cell, and rudely tumbling down under his horse feet fell. Lightly Cambello leapt down from his steed, for to have rent his shield and arms away, that whilome wont to be the victor's meed, when all unwares he felt a hideous sway of many swords that load on him did lay, and 100 knights had him enclosed round, to rescue Satyrane out of his prey. All which at once huge strokes on him did pound, in hope to take him prisoner, where he stood on ground. Lightly Cambello leapt down from his steed, for to have rent his shield and arms away, that whilome wont to be the victor's need, when all unwares he felt a hideous sway of many swords, that load on him did lay, and 100 knights had him enclosed around, to rescue Satyrane out of his prey. All which at once huge strokes on him did pound, in hope to take him prisoner, where he stood on ground. He with their multitude was naught dismayed, but with stout courage turned upon them all, and with his broadsword round about him laid, of which he dealt large arms as did before, like as a lion that by chance doth fall into the hunter's toil, doth rage and roar, in royal heart disdaining to be thrall. But all in vain, for what might one do more, though have him taken captive, though it grieve him sore. Whereof one news to Triamond was brought, there as he lay, his wound he soon forgot, and starting up, straight for his armour sought. In vain he sought, for there he found it not. Cambello it away before had got. Cambello's arms therefore he on him threw, and lightly issued forth to take his lot. There he in troop found all that warlike crew, leading his friend away, full sorry to his view. Into the thickest of that knightly press he thrust, and smote down all that was between. Carried with fervent zeal, ne did he cease, till all he came where he had Campbell seen, like captive thrall to other knights atween. There he amongst them cruel havoc makes, that they which led him soon enforced been to let him loose, to save their proper stakes, who being freed from one a weapon fiercely takes. With that he drives at them with dreadful might, both in remembrance of his friend's late harm, and in revengement of his own despite. So both together give a new alarm, as if but now the battle waxed warm, as when two greedy wolves does break by force into a herd, far from the husband farm, they spoil and raven without all remorse. So did those two through all the field their foes enforce. Fiercely they followed on their bold emprise, till trumpet sound did warn them all to rest. Then all with one consent did yield the prize to Triamond and Campbell as the best. But Triamond to Campbell it released, and Campbell it to Triamond transferred. each labouring th' advance the other guest, and make his praise before his own preferred, so that the doom was to another day deferred. The last day came, where all those knights again assembled were their deeds of arms to show. Full many deeds that day were showed plain, but Satran bore all the other crew. His wondrous worth declared in all men's view, for from the first he to the last endured, and though some while fortune from him withdrew, yet evermore his honour he record, and with unwearied power his party still assured. Ne was there knight that ever thought of arms, but that his utmost prowess there made known, that by their many wounds and careless harms, by shivered spears and swords all understrown, by scattered shields was easy to be shown, there might ye see loose steeds at random run, whose luckless riders late were overthrown, and squires make haste to help their lords fordown, but still the knights of Maidenhead the better won. Till that there entered on the other side a stranger knight, from whence no man could read, in quaint disguise, full hard to be described, for all his armour was like salvage weed, with woody moss bedight, and all his steed with oaken leaves attrapped, that seemed fit for salvage wight, and thereto well agreed his word, which on his ragged shield was writ, Salvages sans finesse, showing secret wit. Him at his first incoming charged his spear at him that first appeared in his sight. That was to wit the stout Sir Sangalier, who well was known to be a valiant knight, approved oft in many a perilous fight. Him at the first encounter down he smote, and overbore beyond his crupper quite. And after him another knight, that hote Sir Brianor so sore, that none him life behote. Then ere his hand he reared, he overthrew 7 knights one after other as they came, and when his spear was brust, his sword he drew, the instrument of wrath, and with the same fared like a lion in his bloody game, hewing and slashing shields and helmets bright, and beating down whatever nigh him came, that every one gan shut his dreadful sight, no less than death itself, in dangerous affright. Much wondered old men what or whence he came, that did amongst the troops so tyrannize, and each of other gan inquire his name, but when they could not learn it by no wise, most answerable to his wild disguise, it seemed him to term the Salvage Knight, but certes his right name was otherwise, though known to few, that Arthurgel he hight, the doughtiest knight that lived that day and most of might. Thus was Sir Satharan with all his band, by his sole manhood and achievement stout dismayed, that none of them in field durst stand, but beaten were and chased all about. So he continued all that day throughout till evening, that the sun gan downward bend. Then rushed forth out of the thickest rout a stranger knight that did his glory shend, so naught may be esteemed happy till the end. He at his entrance charged his powerful spear at Artegall in midst of his pride, and therewith smote him on his umbier so sore that tumbling back he down did slide over his horse's tail about a stride, whence little lust he had to rise again, which Campbell seeing much the same ennued, and ran at him with all his might and main, but shortly was likewise seen lying on the plain. Whereat full inly wroth was Triamond, and cast to venge the shame done to his friend, but by his friend himself eke soon he found in no less need of help than him he wend, all which when Blandemore from end to end beheld, he woke therewith displeased sore, and thought in mind it shortly to amend. His spear he feutred, and at him it bore, but with no better fortune than the rest to fall. Full many others at him likewise ran, but all of them likewise dismounted were, ne certes wonder, for no power of man could bide the force of that enchanted spear, the which this famous Britomart did bear, with which she wondrous deeds of arms achieved, and overthrew whatever came her near, that all those stranger knights full sore aggrieved, and that late weaker band of challengers relieved. Like as in summer's day, when raging heat doth burn the earth, and boiled rivers dry, that all brute beasts forced to refrain from meat, do hunt for shade, where shrouded they may lie, and missing it, fain from themselves to fly. All travellers tormented are with pain, a watery cloud doth overcast the sky, and poureth forth a sudden shower of rain, then all the wretched world recomforteth again. So did the warlike Britomart restore the prize to knights of Maidenhead that day, which else was like to have been lost, and bore the praise of promise from them all away. Then shrilling trumpets loudly gan to bray, and bade them leave their labours and long toil, to joyous feast and other gentle play, where beauty's prize should win that precious spoil, where I with sound of trump will also rest the while. End of Book 4, Canto 4.